All right, good evening, everybody. We're going to call to order the March 2nd, 2023 Osage Beach Board of Aldermen meeting. If you all please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you very much. Roll call, please.
Alderman Becker.
Here.
Alderman Rucker.
Here.
Alderman Schuman.
Here.
Alderman Ross.
Here.
Alderman Morose. Here. Alderman Osteen.
Here.
Mayor Hermanson.
Here. All right, first we have citizens communication. This is the time set aside on the agenda for citizens and visitors to address the mayor and board on any topic that is not a public hearing. For those here in person, speakers will be restricted to 3 minutes unless otherwise permitted. Minutes may not be donated or transferred from one speaker to another. Visitors attending via online will be in listen-only mode. Any questions or comments for the mayor and board may be sent to the city clerk at tberreth@osagebeach.org no later than 10 a.m. on the board meeting day, the first and third Thursday of each month. Submitted questions and comments may be read during the citizens communication section of the agenda. The Board of Aldermen will not take any action on any items not listed on the agenda, nor will it respond to question. Although staff may be directed to respond at a later time. The mayor and the Board of Aldermen welcome and value input and feedback from the public. Is there anyone here in person who would like to address the board at this time? Seeing none, we'll move on to the approval of consent agenda. If the board has taken a look at the bills and also the minutes from the February 16th meeting, are there any comments and questions from the board, or I'd entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion to approve consent agenda.
Alderman Rucker, do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Becker, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, consent agenda is approved. We only have one item on unfinished business, and I was hoping I got to read this again this week. Bill 23-01, an ordinance of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, amending Chapter 115, Employees and Officers in Section 115.020, 115.170, 115.310, 115.360, 115.400, Chapter 125, Human Resource System Personnel, Rules and Regulations in Section 125.020, Chapter 135, Finance and Purchasing in Section 135.030, Chapter 200, Police Department in Section 200.050, Chapter 205, Animal Regulations in Sections 205.100, 205.140, 205.160, 205.190, Chapter 305, Traffic Administration in Section 305.060 of the City Code for various purposes as set forth. This is the second reading, and I believe Alderman Rucker, you can take this one?
Yes, we had this at the last meeting, and there was a couple items that we kind of just clarified. As you can see, after the mayor read all those different sections, this is kind of a little cleanup that was accomplished by our prior city attorney and myself that we'd been working on for quite a number of months. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to try to entertain them. If not.
All right, any comments or questions from the board? Alderman Osteen.
I think at our last meeting, I actually made my concerns or questions clear regarding the sections 205.140 through 205.190, licensing of kennels. I still don't agree with how we would possibly enforce this ordinance or this code. I mean, obviously we can put it in force, but once again, I never got clarity on what would be the basis to actually enforce this.
This is the same ordinance we've had in place for 10, 20 years maybe, I don't know, for a long time. And the problem, what I did with here is I just cleaned it up because it was putting the responsibility into the collector, which the collector was not doing any of that role. That was being done by the clerk. So that's been clarified. As far as the enforcement of it, as far as your likes or dislike of that, that's another ordinance that you could so present. I do understand that there is some Staff has been working on some stuff in reference to this. As far as the enforcement side, that's,
I just wanted that to be
this
on
is
record
just trying to
again.
just clean that portion of it up. As far as the enforcement side of it, Bob, that's another discussion, and
All right, as far as Bill 203-01, Alderman
I just
Ross.
have one question since Bob brought that up. I wasn't here last time. I didn't listen that close. Apparently that you had that concern, but I have a question. Have we issued any kennel licenses or dog licenses in the last year?
Yes.
oh, yes.
Several?
I issued my first kennel license.
Your first one, since you've been
Yeah, since I've been here. Kennel,
3
yes.
years?
Yep, I'm going on 5 years. Yeah.
5 years, one kennel license?
One kennel license.
Okay,
And we actually have issued more dog licenses this year.
okay. Would you,
Yeah.
like 5 to 20 or 100?
I think we're at,
Best guess?
I think we're at 20.
Interesting.
Yeah, we've issued quite a bit of licenses lately.
Okay.
Richard, my concern was with the increase of rental programs, VRBOs, et cetera. Majority of people utilizing those from out of town, out of state. How we could possibly enforce this if somebody comes down and say on a 2-week rental and they've got 5 dogs. How do they know that's the city ordinance? How do they know that they're liable to get a permit or licensing fee before they basically occupy that residence? I just had some red flag concerns, which we can address later, but.
Well, I would just say
In a
one
nutshell.
thing more, that Bob, there's a lot of those kind of ordinances, just kind of a little bit off the subject, but not. Just the other day, I realized my new neighbor has got an ATV. I thought, you know what, he probably doesn't know we have an ordinance in this city about ATVs. So the same scenario can be said there as you had, so I hear that, but that doesn't mean we don't have the ordinance.
Correct.
Yeah, I think this is more to clean up the existing ordinance as is.
Right.
And
I
there's no
understand the
change.
reasoning, I just
That's the
understand the
intent,
feasibility.
and to make an awareness, and obviously I did make an awareness.
Very good. Any other comments or questions? If not, do I have a motion to approve second reading?
Motion approved.
Alderman Ross, do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Rose, roll call, please.
Alderman Becker,
Yes.
Alderman Rucker,
Yes.
Alderman Schuman,
Yes.
Alderman Ross,
Yes.
Alderman Morose,
Yes.
Alderman Osteen.
Yes.
All right, second reading passes. On to new business. First thing we have is a public hearing. The Osage Beach water and sewer usage rate schedule changes. City Administrator Gina Woods, please.
Yes, Mayor, members of the board, I'll just kind of give my update ahead of also the first and the second reading. The purpose of this is to have a public hearing that has been noticed up for 30 days as required. We did discuss this at a prior meeting about the water and sewer rates. I did just reproduce the same user charge presentation that we had used during the discussion. There were some discussions among the board of whether it was enough of an increase. Overall average, it's 12% water, 11% sewer, 13%. I went in and did some, just double, triple checked my numbers. We are going to be reevaluating this at a deeper level, as stated in there, as we consider the improvements for the one specific area of the city. So in that time, any adjustments that may be needed that weren't forecasted will be addressed at that time. But this does get us where we need to be on a 3-year estimate as of today's numbers. So I still recommend the 11% for water, sewer, 13%.
All right, comments or questions from the board? Alderman Rucker.
I may have asked this last time, but I don't. Anyway, this is across the board on all water, sewer, and combination rates in or out of the city.
Both, yeah. It's
So
all rates. It's the same methodology we've always had. All customers have a base rate, and all customers are charged a volumetric unless they are on sewer and not on water, and then there's a flat rate. So the increases are applied equally among all categories and all classes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments or questions from the board? Any comments from the public? Any questions from the public? This is a public hearing. You're welcome to speak if you like. All right, seeing none, do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion to close.
Alderman Rucker, do I have a second? Second. Alderman Becker, all those in favor? Aye. All right, public hearing is now closed. We'll move on to the second item of new business, first bill. Bill 23-08, an ordinance of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, amending Chapter 710 sewers and sewage systems, Article 7, User Change System. This is the first reading. City Administrator Gina Woods.
Yes, Mayor, members of the board, this is a snapshot of the ordinance. In red is the new rate schedule. Crossed out are the items in previous rates that will be taken out of the ordinance. This is effective May 1st, as this one is, the next one's water, so we separated those in two different bills. Effective May 1st, that will give City Treasurer's Office time to put out further public notices, even though we have had this on our website and public notice from the public hearing. I recommend approval.
All right, comments or questions from the board?
Just as an observation, this was also on the utility bill.
Yes, they have been
So-
and will continue putting notices on there, and then we will push a little more on the website too, just in case they don't read it there. And
Anyone else? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve first reading? Alderman Ross, do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
Alderman Rucker, got you by a nose. All those in favor, please. Aye. All right, first reading passes. Next, we'll move on to Bill 23-09, an ordinance of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, amending Chapter 705 Waterworks, Article 4, Rates and Changes. This is the first reading. Gina Woods, please.
Mayor, members of the board, same thing, snapshot of the ordinance. Red is the inserted new rates, effective May 1st as well, and the crossed out are the old rates that'll be taken out of ordinance.
Comments or questions? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve first reading?
So moved.
Alderman Morose, do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Becker, all those in favor?
Aye.
First reading passes. Next, we have Bill 23-10, an ordinance of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, authorizing the mayor to sign a contract with Capital Paving Asphalt overlay on multiple city streets for an amount not to exceed $909,934.50. This is the first reading. Assistant City Administrator Mike Welty, please.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the board. We advertised for this project mid-January. The bids were open a week or so ago. We only received the one bid from Capital Paving. That bid was for $909,934.50. The budget for this project, it was $1,080,472. This project is just over $170,000 under budget. I did speak with a couple of the contractors for the Nova chip because that was one of the alternates. And there was a couple of things. The main thing I got from them was their equipment was just too big to fit down some of our narrow roads. The other thing I got was because of all of the work in the St. Louis and Kansas City area, they were just too busy and just didn't have the time to bid on it. That said, I do believe that adding that alternate in there did give us a little bit more of a competitive bid, and I intend to continue to do that so that we can kind of look at those as they come in year over year as we continue to do this. So I think that was positive. The roads that we are doing follow the approved pavement preventative maintenance plan that the board approved several years ago. So I'm not doing anything that isn't already approved on there. Other than we did add hatchery, that was talked about at the budget workshop. So we did add hatchery into there. Other than that, it's all exactly like what we had. The only other thing I'll mention is if you remember, we kind of put everything back a year, right? So we got those bids that were way high last year, and we just decided to wait. So if you're looking at the pavement maintenance plan, look at the 2022 column because that's what we're doing this year. So I'll be happy to entertain any questions. I do recommend approval.
All right, thank you very much. Comments or questions from the board? Alderman Becker.
Mike, can you explain to me what the difference is between the Nova chip and the asphalt overlay?
No, I cannot. But I will tell you that Dave Van Leer will be at the next meeting when we do the second reading, sir, and I will make sure that he is ready to answer that question when this comes up at the next board meeting.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Alderman Osteen.
Tyler, I believe that the differences in those two were presented to us about 2 years ago in a presentation that gave the different types of surfacing.
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly
I have to
under
pull
what
it up.
heading it was, but I remember
Yeah.
I do have a packet on the different types of road maintenance, the Nova chip, and I remember we had lots of discussion about it, just FYI reference. So we presented that information before.
Richard's probably the most knowledgeable one here on it.
Dave and I had a conversation today a little bit about this, and not under the specs, but I can tell you that an asphalt overlay is, it's just asphalt put down, okay? It's normal asphalt. Now, there can be different sizes of aggregate, which is the rocks that are in it, okay? Where Nova Chip has smaller aggregates, okay, but larger than just a seal coat that's paint and liquid, okay? So it's somewhere in between, and that's definitely a layman's description. I'm sure Dave can be a little more scientific, but I do find that it's sad, and I've still got a conversation to have with Mike and so forth. The Nova Chip as well is recommended for the Parkway when we go to do that. And I had really hoped that we would get an opportunity to put this down, see how it goes down, let people drive over it, get an experience. And at this point, I don't know that we can, but I'll challenge you and Dave to figure out a way to get some Nova Chip down this year so that we can at least see it and test it before we put it up and down the Parkway for the first time. Or maybe we'll never be able to get it on the Parkway. Dave said that that's very common in St. Louis area. And of course, they're from Union area and so forth. And MoDOT was using it there, but for some reason, MoDOT isn't apparently using it around here because these contractors would probably be familiar and able to use it. I'm not sure if you got any different feedback, Mike, but if in fact we're going to potentially use Nova Chip on the the Parkway, I would hope that we find a way to experiment with it a little bit before our main road of about 8 or 9 miles gets covered in it in the next couple of years. So.
The only comment I can make there, sir, is that when I did talk to Capital Paving, we asked them point blank, we said, why don't you guys offer Nova Chip? And they told us that the material used is not easy to get a hold of in central Missouri. And I don't know exactly what that means, but that's kind of what they told us, but.
Okay, we'll work on it some more.
I could just read you real quick what the description of it is. It's a paving process that places a thin, coarse aggregate hot mix over a special asphalt membrane. The special Nova Bond membrane prevents water leakage and provides superior bond to old asphalt or concrete surfaces. So
It's a fabric.
it is apparently a type of bond and a type of aggregate that is able to go down in a thinner layer than what a common asphalt would be. So,
Right.
Alderman Becker?
So this bid is for an asphalt overlay, I believe, right?
Yes, sir.
So are we taking up a layer of the current asphalt and replacing it with this, or?
Yes, so that's it's essentially, this is what might be referred to like a mill and fill.
It'll be basically a new road,
So they scrape
sort
off.
of, sort of.
Sort of.
They-
Half a
they
new road,
scrape-
maybe.
They scrape off a portion, and then right behind it, they overlay new asphalt right on top of that. While they do that, they fix any issues with the integrity of the road or fill in any potholes and make sure that it's a nice, smooth surface when they get done. And I didn't mention it, but the roads that we are doing are listed there in my notes.
So maybe my inference is that Nova Chip would be a cheaper product?
no.
No.
No, it is just a different product with a different layer system that prevents water seepage, has flexible and anti-cracking properties. It is a different type, but it is not cheaper. But it is supposed to be longer lasting than standard
okay.
asphalt. Because it doesn't allow water penetration, which causes subgrade and base failures, that type of thing. So it's supposed to be a little bit better product. But probably would cost more if they bid on
Gotcha.
that.
All right, thank you.
Anyone else on the board with comments, questions? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve first reading?
Motion approved.
Alderman Osteen, do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Ross, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, first reading passes. Next bill is 23-11, an ordinance to the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, authorizing the mayor to sign a contract with Vance Brothers for the 2023 pavement sealing program in an amount not to exceed $285,766.21. This is the first reading. Mike Welty, please.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the board. This is the other half of the pavement maintenance program that we have. This information is also based directly out of the PP&P plan and follows exactly what we would have done in the year 2022. Vance Brothers we've worked with Vance Brothers in the past with no problems. The last time we worked with them, I believe, did I even put that in there? I don't know if I may not have put that in there, but we have worked with them in the past. I did check their references, found no problems. This project is over budget by $108,432.21. If the board so chooses, I would like to use the savings from the last agenda item to offset the overage in this one, and I do recommend approval. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
All right, comments or questions from the board? Alderman Morose.
Mike, why, is it because the material is higher now? Is that the bid was higher?
I do apologize. I can't answer that question, but I will make sure that Dave, when I get Dave in here at the second reading, we will answer the question. I look at this as one project. It's two different contractors, but when we had them budget for this, they gave me one number, and then they broke out the seal coat within that. So what I did was I just broke that seal coat number out and put it in the seal account and left the rest of it in the asphalt account. But if you look at them together, you're still looking at about around a $60,000 savings on the project compared to what we budgeted.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Anyone else? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve first reading?
So approved.
Alderman Becker. Do I have a second? Second. Alderman Rucker. All those in favor, please. Aye. All right, first reading passes. Next, we have Bill 23-12, an ordinance of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, authorizing the mayor to sign a contract with Stockman Construction Corp. for the 2023 drainage improvement project for an amount not to exceed $109,765. And this is the first reading. And once again, Mike Welty, please.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the board. These bids were open to January as well. Bids were advertised in January and were opened in February. We did receive 5 bids for this work. There is a bid tab attached. Stockman Construction was the low bid, and you may remember Stockman Construction is the one that just finished Industrial Drive. They've really done a nice job for us over the last few years on several roads, and they went ahead and bid on this drainage project. This project must happen before we repave Hatchery. So this is all 3 of these projects are kind of tied together, but this project has to happen before we get the pavement down on Hatchery. So this is going to happen right away, and then we'll kind of schedule in the other stuff behind it. This project is significantly under budget. The budget for this project was $238,750. Stockman's bid came in at $109,765. So the project is under budget by $128,985. I do recommend approval.
All right, and I will say I've received compliments on Industrial Drive, so nice job.
It does look nice, yes.
Comments or questions from the board? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve first reading?
So moved.
Alderman Morose, do I have a second?
Second.
Welcome back, Alderman Schuman. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, first reading carries. Next, we have Bill 23-13, an ordinance of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, authorizing the mayor to sign a contract with engineering services, surveys and services for engineering, design, and construction services related to the Highway 42 sidewalk improvement project for an amount not to exceed $150,589. First reading, Mike Welty.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the board. You may remember we were awarded the Highway 42 TAP Grant Sidewalk Project last year. This has been a little bit of a challenging project to start off with because we've had so many problems kind of negotiating through some engineering issues. And I know from previous budget workshops and board meetings that there was some concern about the cost of the engineering. I believe that had come from Alderman Becker at one time. Because of the safety issues that we're going to have to deal with along Highway 42 there. We've made the decision to take this sidewalk kind of away from the road and more down into our park and through the school property. And so because of that, it did raise the cost a little bit of the engineering. And I think that's why you're seeing an overage here. This project was budgeted at $100,000 and it's coming in at $150,089. Just a reminder though, this project is a TAP grant project. We are getting $398,790 total from the state for this project. And this project is also a project that we are partnering with the special, Osage Beach Special Road District. So they are kicking in some money as well. So even though it is a little higher on the engineering, we're getting quite a bit of help from a couple of different agencies on this. And I think with this being a highway, I think it's really important that we make sure that safety is kind of paramount here. And as we consider some of these new park changes, I think it works for us to take this off the road there, down along the back of those dugouts on the upper field there, and just keep the kids off the road there. There's still some work for us to do in negotiations with the school, but my discussions with them have been very positive, and I just don't see that there's going to be any big problem there, because I think they want the same thing that we want, which is those kids to have a safe path to walk if that's what they're going to do. So with that said, ES&S is a engineering firm that is on the MoDOT on-call list. I've checked their references. We've never worked with this company before, so I did do a little extra homework on this. I even put in a couple of sheets that give examples of previous projects, so you guys can see those if you want to. They're a firm out of Jefferson City. Everybody I spoke with spoke very highly of them, so I'm looking forward to working with them, and I do recommend approval. Oh, the overage. I was hoping to use the remaining savings I had from that first agenda item to pay for the additional $50,000. Thank you. I do recommend approval and welcome to answer any questions you may have.
All right, thank you, Mike. Well, I'll just say as far as a comment, right off the bat, I think it's kind of nice to try a new company with a lot of things that are coming our way, see how they do, and gives us another option. So I'll just throw that out there. With other comments or questions from the board? Alderman Ross.
So Mike, I just want to be clear, this overage on the engineering side, is all of that going to be borne by our budget? Because I know this has been a shared program. So the grant from MoDOT is a flat grant, and so they're not going to participate in any of this overage? And we haven't asked the road district to assume. I don't know that we would, but that's what I'm trying to understand. Are we bearing the additional of this overage against the budget?
Yes.
Okay. That's what I need to know. Thank you.
All right. Anyone else? Alderman Osteen.
I've just got one question. This is for Gina. Was the sidewalk project budgeted for 2023? But we know for a fact it's actually not going to occur, so it's going to be 2024.
It was budgeted for 2023, but because we got delayed through the grant process and negotiations, we've probably passed the point of return where we can get this done and constructed. So it's very, very likely that construction will be in 24.
So the only cost we're incurring in this year's budget is the engineering cost,
Unless
correct?
they just happen to get construction somewhat started by winter, but
All right,
yeah.
I just wanted to clarify.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right. Anyone else? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve first reading?
Motion to approve.
Alderman Ross, do I have a second? Alderman Osteen, all those in favor, please.
Aye.
All right, first reading passes. Next, we have Bill 23-14, an ordinance of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, authorizing the city administrator to sign an agreement with Axon Enterprise, Inc. for the purchase of supportive services of Fleet 3 in-car cameras, necessary equipment, and software licensed through Sourcewell Contract Number 010720-AXN, a cooperative purchasing agreement in the amount not to exceed $163,380, covering a 5-year period. Chief Davis, please.
Mayor and members of the board, this is a request for the purchase of 14 Fleet 3 in-car video camera systems and the necessary equipment and software required to operate them. The police department's current in-car video systems were purchased in 2016 and are currently experiencing failures with the body-worn mics and other components of the system. Our current server has also reached end of life and needs to be replaced. And our most recent asset plans show that we're scheduled to begin replacement of those systems in the 2024 budget. Myself and the IT department have discussed this. They've also budgeted $22,122 to replace the server and purchase an upgraded service agreement for our current in-car cameras. However, after lengthy discussions, it's our recommendation to not complete that upgrade or the maintenance agreement this year and roll that savings over to fiscal year 2024 and earmark those towards the replacement of the new in-car systems. The proposed purchase here is a 5-year lease purchase for software, hardware, services for $163,380 or $32,676 annually. If this request is approved, the contract signed this year, we won't receive any equipment until at least January of 2024 due to the current supply chain issues. And therefore, there won't be any cost associated in 2023. It will all be in the 2024 to 2028 years. Our current systems, currently we're operating on 2 different systems, one for the in-car, one for our body cams. And what this is going to do is combine everything into one system. Everything will be out on the, stored out on the cloud, and we'll utilize axonevidence.com as all our software and everything. At this time, that will also limit or reduce some of the work on the IT department because they won't have to monitor our in-house server and that equipment. So, police department recommends approval.
All right, thank you very much. Comments or questions from the board? Alderman Osteen.
This one's directed to Gina again. If you could just clarify, we are approving this as part of the 2023 budget, but we will not actually see any fiscal liability until 2024. Is that correct? So I'm just curious on how that plays with our budgeting.
Correct. So basically, this is a request to purchase and give authorization to go ahead and put order, but we will not be writing any checks to 24. I always am hesitant to do that, to bind future boards, but given this day and age and unprecedented times with vehicles and supply issues, I do believe that because we were going to do certain upgrades next year, that it would be viable to think that we would have been considering something like this then. But we are going to have some savings this year that will naturally roll over to the next year. So short answer is yes, this is really like an authorization to go ahead and get something ordered knowing we are not going to write a check until 24.
So it would have no bearing on the existing budget, nor would we have to, would it require an amendment of any sort for budget?
As long as what
Just clarify.
Todd is telling you as far as that schedule of events, no. It does not change the bottom dollar of this year, except the savings of not doing some upgrades in IT. Actually,
All
it'll
right,
have a
just
better
wanted-
effect. We'll just write the check later.
Just clarifications,
Nope,
please.
I appreciate it.
Any other comments or questions? Alderman Ross.
So Todd, I'm trying to do some of the math here. We had planned, or because based on the asset plan, $100,000 in 2023. And I'm trying to figure out what the net effect over the next 5 years is. Is this significantly higher? And maybe I'm missing it, and I apologize if I am. What is it that we are $163,000 over the next 5 years?
Correct.
Is that what this is?
Correct.
So it's almost double the cost of what we were paying. Less the server that may not have to be replaced. Is that correct? 60%.
Well, we would be replacing these beginning in 2024,
Right.
next year anyway.
Right.
So the cost is about the same as if we would go with this system versus upgrading what we have.
Okay. Okay, so we planned it to be nearly $160,000?
Roughly, yes.
So
I
that
don't
would have been presented
actually
in
have
next
the
year's
exact
budget,
numbers,
correct?
what was on what we projected that we would
Well, on the asset planning sheet, it's 100,000, so when we know
Yeah.
that those kind of things are higher, we probably should be adjusting that, but, do we have any idea what that server costs, Mike?
Server was approximately 17,000.
Okay. Okay, so that's a net clawback, for lack of a better term, against this 163,000, right? Okay, that's all I have, thank you.
All right. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve first reading?
Motion to approve.
Alderman Osteen, do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Morose, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, first reading passes. Next, we have a resolution, 2023-01, a resolution of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, referring the proposed Oasis at Lakeport tax increment financing application under the Real Property Tax Increment Allocation Redevelopment Act to the Tax Increment Financing Commission for a public hearing. City Administrator Gina Woods, please.
Yes, Mayor, members of the board, staff, legal, financial consultants, we have received everything that we think is substantially ready for the board to consider referring this project to the TIF Commission. If that happens, TAR is prepared to send out all the required taxing district notifications. We have tentatively scheduled 2 meetings that we are asking the TIF commissioners to attend. The first one is more of an educational, get to know the project, understand their role meeting. The second one is the hearing meeting. If any, when I say substantially completed, we do feel that they've, the TIF finance, or the redevelopment plan matches their intended application for the project, along with cost-benefit analysis and qualification study. There might be a few minor changes, but that's expected, but by law, as that's done, as long as that is presented before the first March 27th meeting, that can still be considered. So it is up to the board whether this is ready to move on to the next step.
All right, comments or questions from the board? Alderman Morose.
Go ahead.
Oh, me, okay. I don't know if it's too premature or not, but I thought I'd bring it up. In looking at the development plan, which is very, very exciting, but I can't tell where the driveways are going to be, entrance and exits, and that's very important, of course, off of Jeffries. And will they also help with the cost, which I'm sure there will be, to widen the part of Jeffries to make a turn lane to go into the park or out of it? Anyway, I just hadn't seen that.
Well, Phyllis, that might be a little premature because once we get into, right now it's just the plan, the financial, yes.
That's what I said, I didn't know.
And the developer might have answers when he's presenting the project of some details, but some of that construction tidbits and permits and traffic studies and all that will come to more fruition when you get
Okay.
through that permitting and construction phase. So absolutely, that might be a question
Yeah.
in front of the developers, but those type of details aren't at that level. at
Okay,
this
that's why I said I didn't know if I was
Yep.
too
Nope.
premature. Okay, thank you.
All right, anyone else? Alderman Osteen.
Another question for Gina, possibly Kevin.
So you start with Kevin.
Just the time frame of the TIF commission meeting the 27th of March to discuss this TIF proposal, but the public hearing's not for 3 weeks after?
Correct.
I just wanted to know if that is
So-
usually the process we would
Process.
follow, it seemed.
So we've actually added some layers for the benefit of transparency, understanding, and because this is, very complicated. And we got TIF commissioners that, are on a commission that they may get called once a year. Lately, it's been once or twice a year. We usually don't deal with this. So this year, we decided to add in a very important layer that I think brings clarity and answers questions and transparency to the community, not only for a publicity purpose, but also for the commissioners as well as the mayor and board of aldermen. The required hearing is the 45-day mark, no later than the 45 days, which is April 17th. We have chosen in the past to do kind of an educational series ahead of TIF Commission. We never got a lot of participation. We obviously can't mandatory these things, but that just really hasn't worked out in previous years. So in planning this whole process, we thought up front we would separate the TIF Commission into 2 meetings. The required one that they are required to hold a hearing, they are required to consider a decision to the board, but a pre-meeting for the purpose of, yes, they need to understand their role, clarification, but also it gives the opportunity for the developer to also get in front of the TIF commission for the first time and the audience in ahead of the public hearing, which will allow the public time to come and talk about the project, but it also gives the TIF commissioners, as well as the Board of Aldermen, time to like, okay, this is what I heard, here's my further questions. So it can be a more productive public hearing meeting come April 17th.
And let me add to it too, another reason we decided to do this is this first meeting is about this TIF specifically. It's not just TIF 101s in general, it's about this one specifically. And so that, I know, since there's a
Developer will be here, they
Right.
will hear, yes.
And we have 2 new TIF commission members, so rather they don't just get a packet a week ahead of time, they don't know what they're doing. They'll know what's expected of them, what their questions are, whether or not they'll be voting at the TIF hearing. All those things will be answered at that night.
And you will also hear from our consultants and our financial advisor, their comments on the city side too.
I just want to make sure we, as the city, aren't going to get any pushback from the public in the fact that we are already discussing this TIF, and it's already going before committee before the public has had a chance to chime in.
Well,
I just-
it's
just
really a
covering our
purpose on that. This
bases.
is their, yeah, the public will not have an opportunity to speak at the March 27th meeting, but that's their opportunity to listen, to hear from the developer firsthand, to hear from our city consultants firsthand, to hear the TIF's roles and responsibilities, not just for the TIF commissioners, but the public understands this is what has to happen. And then come the 17th, that should benefit them if they've attended. Plus, we'll have it recorded and it'll be on our, so everybody's ready to play their role, and the public are potentially more ready to have comments in the public hearing as well. So
I was
we're
just
not
looking out
doing
for our
it.
best interest in this
We're
one.
not
Just
really
want to make
doing
sure.
it for our pressure, but we're just trying to streamline the process for the best of the public, the developer, and the TIF commissioners.
And hopefully this will make us as transparent as possible, and rather than just hearing shows up, people will know ahead of time, they can ask questions, comments.
Yeah.
Think of it as a first reading and a second reading. It gives the public, one shot to just hear about it, and then a second shot to come back with thoughtful questions, so they're not getting it, having to question it all at once, and then we're having a vote,
Like I
in
said,
an hour and a half later.
just covering our bases.
Yep, so.
I can
It's
see
for
the pushback of, the
transparency.
city's already made a decision before the public's even had a chance to say anything.
Yeah,
I can already hear that conversation.
You will, the commissioners or the aldermen tonight are the only thing you're deciding, is it ready to move the next step? And the commissioners will not be asked to make any kind of recommendation or anything at March 27th.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other comments? Alderman Becker?
So who is Gilmore and Bell working for?
Gilmore and Bell are our legal consultants.
Okay, so they prepared this for
They
us?
they prepared it in conjunction with the developer's legal counsel.
Okay,
But they work for us.
okay. Well, that's what I thought, but I didn't know if they switched teams and we needed
No,
to
they did
find a
not.
plan B. Okay, all right.
But be clear, these are from deposits made from the developer. It's not the city's expense.
Yep, the developer reimburses us for their bills.
Right,
Yeah,
thank you.
remember, we voted to keep them on retainer, correct?
Well,
Remember that?
and that's a nuance, yes. Any TIF expenses that the city expends on behalf of consultants to review projects are not on the backs of the taxpayers. That is the required to be paid, reimbursed from the developer. However, to ensure that there's a smooth process, and as we get these, we're not having to contract here and there, we have put on master contract, or we work under master contracts now with Gilmore and Bell for any of these situations, as well as Columbia Capital for any financial advising.
I remember that discussion about
Yes.
keeping them on.
Which I
on
appreciate
team.
because that made this go a little smoother.
Alderman Rucker?
I have some questions of some things that are in the document. Nothing that needs to be discussed tonight. I mean, it can. It's got to do with some construction dates. There's some one time it says it's going to be done at I believe, January or sometime in 26, another time it says 27. But anyway, and I have some other ones. Do you want these, in past, we've run these kind of things through Ed, and then do you want these come through you, or you want to come to Cole? What do you want me to do with my questions on it?
I would love it if you would send them to Ed.
Please, I would just say include both of us, either CC one or the other. Maybe not Ed, he won't appreciate that. But, and I'm glad you brought that up because I will also be repeating to the public, start listing your questions now, because that will help staff do FAQs. So whether the board, you guys have got the first look at this, this will be the same packet the TIF commissioners will officially, formally get beginning tomorrow, however long it takes to get there. So start forming your questions now, because the sooner Cole and I can keep them consolidated, organized, and as we get to that public hearing, we're going to create an FAQs to continue putting on our website. Because, you know, yes, this is a process, but even way after the TIF commission finishes their role, whatever they choose that is, and it goes to the board, we can continue building on those.
Anyone else? Alderman Ross.
At what point, if at all, do we expect Columbia Capital to be involved in this process?
They are already involved in this process, and they will have a formal recommendation and statement as our consultants by the 27th. Whether or not that'll be in person or through formal submission in writing, that's still to be determined. But they have already been commenting and been part of the process of the reviewing.
All right, thanks. That's all I have.
They've had some pretty significant input, which has been very helpful.
Okay, good.
Anyone else? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved.
Alderman Becker, do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Schuman, all those in favor?
Aye.
Resolution passes. Last item of business, we have a motion to approve and submit the Board of Aldermen authorization, City Council authorization, form to participate in Missouri Department of Transportation Highway Safety Grant Program for the fiscal year 2024. Chief Davis, please.
Mayor and members of the board, this is an annual request that we have. It's a requirement by the Missouri Department of Transportation Highway Safety and Traffic Division to be signed by the Mayor and Board of Aldermen before we participate in the highway safety program. We've had they're highway safety overtime grants. This year we've applied for one for hazardous moving violation in the amount of $10,945, and the other one for DWI enforcement, $8,057 in overtime projects. In order to participate and receive those funds, we just need you guys to sign off on the form.
All right, comments or questions from the board? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Alderman Roast, do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Rucker, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion carries. Moving on to staff communications, City Administrator Gina Woods, please.
I actually don't have any comments tonight.
All right, Assistant City Administrator Mike Welty.
I don't have any comments either. Thank you.
City Clerk? I don't have anything.
City Treasurer Carrie Bell.
Yeah, I'll make a brief comment. Thanks to the action that the board took late last summer in reference to our investment, the way the city was, we were with a sole source, basically, an investment option. And due to splitting that up, I just want to let the board know that currently the city's investment funds are receiving an average of 4% interest. So there's a lag when you look at your financial statements, but it's worked out very favorably for the city.
Very good.
Very good.
City Attorney Cole Bradbury.
Nothing to add.
All right, Chief Davis.
Just a couple things. We've did a site visit on Monday with the new ambulance. Our ambulance supervisor and a couple of the staff went down. It's coming along. We should be taking delivery at the end of this month. So it's been a year and maybe a year and a half coming. So we should see that. And then this weekend, or this past weekend, we had the Polar Plunge and all the events for it. We had a record-breaking year. The funds even went up from yesterday's staff meeting. We're at $272,000 now. So in the 24 super plungers that we had, we raised $175,000 this year.
Very
So
good.
it was an awesome year. Thank you, Mayor and Michael Ray, for coming out and doing some of our judging, and it was awesome. So
Very good. Great time.
that's all I have.
Building official Ron White.
Just an update on a couple of our more visible projects. The preserve at Sycamore Creek, we've been working with them. We had another phone call today. Looks like we're getting real close to getting the site development permit issued so they can begin on their infrastructure. there. They have already put up their erosion control for tree clearing and such. The Oasis is on the same schedule as far as erosion control. They're clearing trees right now, so you're gonna see silt control measures. They are actually installed already before they start clearing trees to keep any of the erosion out of our lake. And Topsider Building 3 is currently under review. So we're moving right along.
Very good. All right. Kerry Patterson.
Nothing tonight, Mayor.
All right. Human Resource.
Mayor, members of the board, Kevin Crooks is not here, but I would just like to say that Nichols Road traffic box is fixed. Nobody should be sitting at that light anymore. The one that was on the actual timer that I know a lot of you had received complaints about. So that one was completed today, and traffic's moving freely on that. Aside from that, the employee appreciation dinner tomorrow evening. All of you, I believe most of you have RSVP'd. If you haven't, please let me know, and we'll get you added to the list.
Thank you very much. IT, Michael Bean.
Nothing to me, sir, thank you.
All right. Airport, Ty.
Nothing to see.
All right. Parks, Eric.
Sir, I'd just like to take this opportunity to thank the street department for the installation of our new culvert at City Park. It's a very complex project in a very short time frame. They did an outstanding job and braved the elements. It was extremely cold last Friday, and they did it with no complaint. And we very much appreciate it. And we're hoping, if all goes well and if the weather cooperates, to have the roadway to the lakefront property in City Park open by May, so fingers crossed, and then vehicle traffic will again be able to travel up to the lake. Just a reminder for those at home, Little League registration is still open. The registration link can be found on the Parks and Recreation page of the city website or on the Parks and Recreation Facebook page. If you need assistance or have questions, please give us a call. Also a reminder that kind of go with that, we are looking for umpires to umpire our Little League games. We pay $40 a game, so if you're interested in that, give us a call. And we're looking for seasonal positions to work our concession stand and seasonal maintenance positions. And in addition, we still have a full-time park tech position, so if you're interested in a full-time position, the information for that can be found on the job vacancy section of the city website. And other than that, we are prepping for a very, very busy season. We're already getting our fields ready and planning a busy special event schedule. So that's all I have.
All right. Thank you very much. Alderman Rucker.
Yes, I have a couple items. First of all, I wanted to let the board and staff know that I went fishing and caught some whaling. And if those of you don't understand what those terms are, that means you haven't paid attention to your information email from IT, because there is a message to all of us from the IT department in reference to a little course training we're supposed to be taking involving fishing and whaling. And I did pass it 100% after I took it the second time because I missed one the first time. But and it's very, very good information, and I hope everybody does that. Second of all, this was kind of old news, but the day after our last meeting, I don't know where I've seen it at now. I don't know if it was social media or newspaper, whatever, but anyway, hopefully for those that don't know it, we will be having some live theatrical entertainment here in Lake at the Main Street Music Hall. I've had the pleasure of seeing Capital City Productions up in Jeff City, and they do a very good job. And so I think I'm very excited about that. It's a different type of entertainment, which is great. It gives us some well-rounded entertainment, family entertainment. And so I'm looking forward to that, plus looking forward to continuing to see that theater being used after it had been there for ever. I don't know how long, but forever. Third of all, I believe, Cole, you won't be at our next meeting?
I will not.
Okay, that's the reason I wanted to bring it up tonight. I want to make sure we've got our I's dotted and our T's crossed, because I believe at our next meeting, Tara, we are having a public meeting, or a public hearing on the Beach Drive CID.
Yes.
Okay. My concern with that, and for some of you that may not be aware of what that is, it's a capital, or where they're doing a tax district.
Community Improvement District.
Thank you. My concern with that is the fact that on February the 1st, in the paper, there was a publication, okay, that said that we would be hearing this on February the 16th. That's what is in the publication. It was in the paper, okay? Now, that didn't happen. I understand. I had some discussion with Tara. I understand that there was some delay. But this is the publication. My concern is, does there need to be another publication for this next meeting? Because I want to make sure we're dotting our I and crossing our T.
In the newspaper today, I actually just cut it out. It's for March 16th.
Okay, so
There's two of them
I
now.
didn't get to read the
Yeah,
paper.
I
today.
didn't, okay, I'd have to look at that one.
You're welcome to have this.
Yeah, let me see it.
I just
You
want
know,
to
I
make sure.
canceled that. I wonder if she didn't get the cancellation in time
Well,
before it went to public. But no, it's all republished
Okay.
again. It's all good to go.
I just want to make sure we're dotting our I and crossing our T. It's
Yep,
something
nope,
that
we're
at the
good.
end doesn't come back. Okay. Fourth, thank Carrie Patterson for our maps. They're very helpful to see just what property the city has, and as we move forward with our discussion, he emailed this to all of us. I think it was maybe 12 hours after our meeting. So it's very helpful to see property, especially with the meeting we're going to be having next week, talking about parks and stuff. And so thank you, Carrie. I appreciate that. It was very helpful. Lastly, but not least, of a value, the MML, Michael. We have participated in years past with MML with providing them salary information, okay? Their most recent publication they came out with says that they are going to expand that, and they're going to include with the Mizzou's Truman School of Public Affairs a look at benefits, fringe benefits, and a comparison. I would very much hope we could participate in that, because to me, that is an area that we have not been able to see a good comparison on how we compare with the rest of the municipalities throughout the state and stuff. So if Gene would see fit,
We're already
we're going to
participating.
participate with the benefits side?
So let me add to that. There's still two surveys. The one is the salary, which Mike Ray has completed. MML is putting together what they used to call technical bulletins about technical issues of administration of the cities. They've expanded those. I'm not sure what they call them. So they have hired the Truman School of Public Affairs to look at all the benefits, issues, challenges, successes that cities deal with, not only in salary rates, but best practice on benefits. So they're not necessarily just taking all information of what benefits you have, but what do you deal with? So it's two different things, but yes, that is new, something they've not updated for 10 years. And so it's already highlighted, and we will provide them whatever information they need, but most importantly, we will be anxiously awaiting what they come to find out.
Be interesting to see. One of the areas that one of the little areas that I would like to see if they're going to answer the question on is police take-home cars. That's a benefit that it'd be interesting to see how many other cities do that and the value of that, because I think there's some value with that.
Take-home cars, is that what you said?
Yes.
Okay.
Police officer, yeah. But that's just a benefit that's kind of a little bit outside the box in some respects, but just all those benefits, I think they'd be of great value. So that's all I have. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Alderman Schuman.
Yes, just wanted to mention it's good to be back. I did miss the two meetings in February due to medical reasons, but I was able to watch them online. That's great. I love being able to do that and keeping up with it. And congratulations to Todd and everybody who participated in the Polar Plunge. That's an amazing amount of money to raise, and it was cold. So, but that's all I've got. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Becker.
I have nothing. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Osteen.
Yes, Gina, the mayor, Phyllis, and I were lucky enough to attend the annual Legislators Conference last week in Jefferson City. As part of that conference, we were able to have one-on-one conversations with Representative Dan Mayhew and Senator Mike Bernskoetter. Probably the most interesting part of that whole conference was we were given a list of all the legislation that is before our state senators and representatives right now. Very interesting information on what is being presented all over the board. The majority of it deals with taxation. A lot of that is products that they're wanting to abolish taxing on. One item that I found the most interesting, which I hemmed and hawed and kept talking about nonstop, Senate Bill 513 is they're wanting to abolish taxing of boat docks.
Yeah.
Which I found interesting because it's being presented by a representative out of Warrensburg. And if you think about boat docks, obviously those have a very limited impact on certain communities in the entire state. So to make that state legislation, I thought very interesting, especially by a legislator who's not even a resident of the lake, that they would cut a huge part of our revenue source through taxing of boat docks. Obviously something I will continue to follow up on because it's something I harped on nonstop throughout the whole conference. Because it's something obviously that's part of our community. This is our backyard, and the fact that they're trying to make it a state legislator to abolish that didn't make any sense to me.
Right.
So there were a few other ones that I brought up and discussed with our senators and representatives, but that one I thought was the most interesting. And something for you to kind of mull over and think, what is the reasoning for that? Anyway, that's all I have.
Thank you very much. Alderman Morose.
Well, as Bob just mentioned, that I was at the MML conference, and I just want to thank the city for sending me. And again, it's always very informative and very educational, and it was just well worth it. And also, I'd like to just extend a huge, what am I trying to say, applause to Mike for all the due diligence he's been working on with these pavements and the roads and doing all that research that you've done. Anyway, we really do appreciate it. That's it.
Thank you. Alderman Ross.
First, it's good to be back. Welcome back, Kelly, and formally welcome Cole. I had a chance to sit down and visit with Cole Monday, and it was a great conversation. I think you're a great asset to the city.
Thank you.
To tag on to Bob's deal, I read the MML reports of some of the stuff that's working out there, and I find it very interesting how our state legislatures want to spend a tremendous amount of time telling us what we can and can't do, and not affecting a whole lot of what they can or can't do. They're cutting taxes, somebody else's, then they're not cutting their revenue, they're cutting ours. So just something that I found very interesting, and I'll leave it at that. That's all I have.
All right, thank you very much. Alderman Schuman, you have something else?
I was going to say congratulations, Richard, on getting a soon-to-be son-in-law.
It'll be a while, but yeah.
That was not your-
But thank you, I appreciate that.
Very good. I have just 3 short items. First, the culverts that are down at the city park. And Eric, now, who lifted those off there? The culverts?
It used to be called Scott's Crane.
But it was all in-house, right?
No. Well, the crane was hired, but all of the actual work that was done was done by Rob Long, our transportation foreman, and the transportation department, and maybe a little bit of help from the parks department as well. So it was a team effort. It's definitely a success.
Well, kudos to all of those, because Mitchell Moon and I went out there and looked, and these culverts are just huge, massive, and if anybody wants this done, take a look at that. I don't think we'll have I think those culverts will be there, well, for 100 years, but.
We sure hope so.
Yeah,
So-
but
200 years.
It's going to be here 100 years from now.
But kudos to those folks. I mean, that was just excellent. And I'm going to mimic what Alderman Morose and Osteen said. Thank you to the citizens of Osage Beach and taxpayers for sending us to MML. These are meetings. This has been my second one now, and it's very informative. It hopefully makes us better leaders, helps us be able to regulate how we spend our money, how we can save money. So we couldn't do it without the taxpayers, so thank you to the city of Osage Beach. And lastly, I cannot stress enough that polar plunge. And I'm embarrassed to say this. I said this at the staff meeting yesterday, that I had not been to one yet. And Chief asked me to be a judge. I had no idea what I had in front of me. It was a beautiful day. And that morning I Googled it and I found out there was a chili cook-off. I found out the kids plunged earlier. And Kim and I get there and I'm like, there's no buckets to donate money. That's how ignorant I was about this. And so I saw these people. I don't know how many thousands of people were there, but it was just huge. And so I told Chief, I would like to be involved next year because it goes to Special Olympics. And of the 272,000, to know that You guys raised 170-some thousand of that. Just kudos to the police department and excellent job. All right, that's all I have. Next, where you have notice is going to be given that the agenda includes a roll call vote to close the meeting as allowed by RS Missouri, Section 610.021, legal actions, causes of action, or litigation involving a public governmental body and any confidential or privileged communications between a public governmental body or its representatives and its attorneys. Do I have a motion to move into executive session?
So,
Alderman Ross, do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Schuman, roll call, please.
Alderman Osteen?
What happens if I said no?
You can say no, but it's gonna
We go
pass.
home, yes. We get to go home.
you're holding us up.
Alderman Morose?
Yes.
Alderman Ross?
Yes.
Alderman Schuman?
Yes.
Alderman Rucker?
Yes.
Alderman Becker?
Yes.
All right, we need to close to executive session. All right.
Was it that,